Hey, this is episode 103 of Future Chat, and I'm going to do something a little bit different this week. Mike is still MIA, if you listened to last week's East Meets West that Nick and I did, but this week, turns out, Nick is also not here, and as coincidence has it, that ends up being okay because there's something that I've been meaning to do and actually needing to do that I've been putting off. And so this week's Future Chat gives me an opportunity to do something a little different. And I'm actually going to conduct a product review. Now, this is something that I have done before, although not really in any detail. And so this is brand new to me, but the kind folks at Samsung PR for Canada at least sent me this tablet. This is a Samsung Galaxy A7 tab. Galaxy Tab A7, I guess they call it. I was actually a little confused, and it seemed like the device itself is a little confused about what it is. But that's okay because I'm here today to talk about the last 2 weeks that I've had with it. This device was released in March. Retails for $200. It's an 8 gigabyte tablet from Samsung. It actually, like in terms of the visual of the device, it actually is pretty nice. I have no overall complaints with how it looks and how it feels. We're talking about when the screen is off, I have no problem with it. However, when you turn the screen on, that is when the issues that I have with this thing start. And I think it's important to put this in context because this is not an expensive device. It's a $200 device. And so my expectations of it weren't high to begin with, but I think it's fair to say that it underwhelmed me in every way possible, even keeping that expectation in mind. So a little background on me, if you haven't listened to a lot of episodes of Future Chat, or if you don't know, I love technology a lot. I have been using an iPhone for a very long time. I have used Android phones. I owned a Nexus 5 briefly a couple of years ago when it first came out. And it was fine. I mean, I enjoyed it. I didn't like it as much as the iPhone that I had at the time, but it was a good phone. I mean, it was a solid phone. I liked the Nexus experience. Since then, I've used the iPhone. My current phone is an iPhone 6 from last year. I also have in my possession as a writer for Mobile Syrup. I'm fortunate enough they gave me an Android device to play with because obviously people love Android devices. The device they gave me, this is my only Android experience currently, is the Moto X Play from 2015. Which again, it feels nice and it looks nice. It has some shortcomings that I don't really need to get into because this is technically a review of this Samsung tablet. Really, what I wanted to do with this is talk about this tablet in the context of not necessarily saying that it is for nobody, which was my initial kind of reaction. This tablet is for nobody, but really to put it in context and just to say that I'm kind of disappointed in Samsung that this is what a $200 thing gets you from them. And so to put that in context, the tablet that I use every day, the one that I just recently upgraded to the iPad Pro. This is coming from the 4th generation iPad, which I loved. I used for 4 years, used it into the ground. And at the time I got it, it was amazing. It was so fast. It was the fastest tablet that basically had been released. And it was getting kind of old. This was 3 or 4 years later, 3.5 years later that I decided to upgrade. And the tablets that Apple is making today are, if you have use for a tablet, they're wonderful. They're really, really great. And people tend to think outside of kind of formal Apple circles that the iPad is really for nothing. There's nothing you can do with it. But it's my most used computer. The fact that now that I have this new updated tablet, I really I have my laptop over there. I rarely use it. I use it for a few different things, like writing being one of them. But I don't really use it for anything else. All my consumption, whether it be email, whether it be video, whether it be reading the web, all of these kind of computery internet things all happen on my tablet now. It's more than fast enough now that the iPad has multitasking. I just love it. And so that's where I'm coming from. And when I turn this thing on, like this is a good place to start the review. When I turn this thing on, the first thing I see when I first turned it on for the very first time, when I first got it, I just looked at it and I thought, it's 2016. This screen is not a 2016 screen. This screen is 2012, 2013 at best. I go and look at the specs. This is a 7-inch screen, so it's a 7-inch tablet, as you'd expect from the name A7. This thing has a 1280 by 800 resolution, which it is honestly the first non-retina tablet screen or mobile device screen that I've seen in a really long time. And it's just such old technology. Like you can go and get an original iPad mini right now, like original or second gen, for around in the neighborhood of $200. It might be $250, it might be $300 if you're in Canada. But it's such an improved device. It has the Retina screen. It has all of these higher end tablet features that, again, it's this tablet, like this is going to be a theme. It's out of its generation. It seems like it's coming out of 2012, and even then it would be a little underwhelming. I don't really know how else to put it. So the screen is very old. It's not very responsive. If you've used like a touchscreen dashboard in a car, it reminds me of that coming from Apple, because Apple's famously their screens are very responsive. Whether or not it has a huge amount of computational power, they take great care to make the screen extremely responsive, and the actual contents of the screen very fluid, like very responsive to the touch. And that was not the experience I got with this. So first of all, the first thing I noticed is it has kind of the TouchWiz interface, which this is the first time I've used it, but it was fine. It has these little kind of animations. So when you tap the screen, you get this little drip effect. You're probably not gonna be able to see it, maybe a little bit. You get a little ripple effect. And I'm very confused as to why that's in there on this underpowered tablet, because it seems like the goal is like the pinnacle is 60 frames per second when you're kind of doing screen animations, and it doesn't react that quickly, but they have these superfluous animations. And I'm just thinking, on this budget device, who is really looking for these little water ripple animations on a budget device? That it's the kind of small detail that doesn't need to be there on that kind of thing. And it just, again, this echoes throughout the entire experience for me, is that they put a bunch of thought into these details that nobody cares about. I think TouchWiz is fine. It's not particularly ugly. I will say, as a person who loves to, like, I really like watching YouTube videos. It's one of my favorite things. I described when I first started trying to watch a YouTube video on this thing, it looks like as though someone tried to play a YouTube video on an old-timey projector. Like this device seems to struggle to get through a YouTube video. Like, it really, really seems to struggle. It looks like it's exerting a lot of effort trying to play video, and it is not succeeding very well. And so it's jittery. You can tell that it's going through a lot of computational effort to play video. Whereas even on my iPad 4, like it was very clearly playing perfectly. Like, Apple takes great care to make sure that all kind of screen animation is prioritized when it's going. Whereas it seems like this device doesn't take any care, and it's running everything exactly the same way as it was, and it also happens to be playing a video, and so it's running out of resources because this thing, it has 1.5 gigs of RAM. Like it's not necessarily powerful enough. It's got a CPU that 1.3 gigahertz. It's a quad core CPU. It says it doesn't feel fast to me. It feels like a very underpowered thing. In terms of actually moving around, it's not that slow. Like, opening apps doesn't take a very long time. It takes a second or two. That isn't that much of a disappointment to me. I do notice every time I open an app, like, it's very clear to me that it's very blurry. like the screen resolution is low. I'm constantly reminded of that, especially coming from an iPad or an iPhone, or even the Moto X Play has a very high resolution screen. Like I'm not trying to knock Android here. I'm saying this specific low end tablet is something that very few people should buy. Like if you're in the market for a budget tablet, by all means. If you only have $200 to spend, I think it could be better spent. But if you're going to be giving this to a baby to just like paw around with and it's kind of their first technology, then I guess it's fine, but I still wouldn't recommend it. I would still say like go for the cheapest iPad you can get. When I sold my iPad 4 to get this iPad Pro, I ended up selling it to someone who was going to give it to their kid. And like, this is another thing, is that I sold my iPad 4 years later, 3.5 to 4 years later after I got it. And I sold it for a little under 50% of its value, of its original value. Whereas I feel like a device like this is going to have almost no resale value. It retails for $200. I'm sure I couldn't sell it for $50 right now. I have no faith in the resale value of this device. Whereas something like even an iPad mini is going to you're going to be able to resell it if it gets old or if you have your needs change. Whereas there's no resale value on this. The other thing that I want to talk about, so this is another thing that I really like about my devices, and especially upgrading to the iPad Pro, like new devices are starting to have 4K cameras now. New Android phones, new iPhones, new iPads. My iPad has a 4K camera. And this device, which was also released in 2016, and again, totally aware it's a budget device. It doesn't need to have like the best camera in the world, but this camera, the camera on this tablet is so overwhelmingly bad. The front-facing camera almost seems like it's just as good. I'm going to get a little bit of footage with it and let you see for yourself that hilariously enough, when I try to open the camera, the app crashes. Or when I try to open the video camera, the app crashes. I will try. Okay. The best it can do, it's a 2 megapixel camera on the front. That's not right. There we go. It's fine. I mean, it really is fine. It's not the end of the world on this device. It's not great, but I really have positive thoughts for good cameras. And this one, I'm going to try the back camera. The camera seems fine. I tried to install the Google camera app on this phone, or on this tablet, sorry, and it was terrible. It was a really bad experience. It's very glitchy, and the Google camera actually isn't supposed to run. Like, it's designed not to run on this, and I'm not really sure why, except like I have no explanation for it except that it's a very budget device. It hasn't been supported to actually update Google camera to the latest version. So I'm having to run like 1 or 2 versions ago, although those still run fine. So I'm not exactly sure why, like those still run fine on other phones and other things. So not sure why that would be that slow, other than the fact that this is a device that doesn't have a lot of CPU to deal with. There's not really a lot else to say about this device. I guess if I had to give it a rating out of 10, and I'm comparing like 10 being the best tablet you can get, I would probably give this maybe a 1.5, and 1 being the lowest rating that I think I could possibly. I can picture a worse tablet. I've actually, when I worked at Canada Computers, a electronics retailer in Canada, I did see some bad tablets, but I even think by comparison, back when I worked there in 2012, you could get better tablets. You could get better Android tablets for a little bit less or equal money. Like this device screams budget in every way, in the worst way. And you can get budget devices that are better. I feel kind of bad. I feel like I'm now not going to get other devices to review. I'm trying to talk with Samsung to get a higher end tablet. Like they actually have a Windows convertible tablet. called the Tab Pro S that looks really great, and I would love to try it out. But in terms of recommending this tablet as something that you should get, I really just can't, like, I can not give less of a recommendation to get this particular tablet. And I'm not too familiar with Samsung devices in general. I know, like Mike, our other co-host on Future Chat, he has a Galaxy Note, and he loves it from everything he's told me. And it's a newer device. It has a big screen. Like the Samsung Note, it does not have a small screen. I believe he has the Note 4. He can correct me if he doesn't have it. I believe it has like a 5.7 inch screen or something. Yeah, 5.7 inch. It's almost the same size as this thing. And it's not good. There's really nothing else I can say aside from the fact that it's not for anybody. It's a device out of time. And I guess that will wrap up this review. I'm sorry if you were disappointed. If you have any specific questions, I'd love to address them. But I really feel like in terms of a tablet, you have pretty limited uses. You can use it for general internet browsing. You can use it to watch videos. There are things you can do. And in terms of an everyday kind of, experience, it's actually not that bad. But I just know what better is out there, and it kind of fails at the fundamental. Like, it doesn't matter how good your tablet is if it has a grainy screen and a terrible camera. Like, those are some of the main things that people would use when you have a device like this. It tends to, like, if you have a $200 tablet, that tends to be your one computing device. You might have like a desktop computer, but that tends to be your one mobile thing, is when you have a tablet like this. And it just fails in so many fundamental ways compared to what else is out there for similar or a little bit more money. And I just think that your money could be better spent. So 1.5 out of 10. Samsung, I would love to review some better tablets. I know you can do better. I know you do better in other domains. And so putting something out like this out in 2016 is frankly kind of embarrassing. And I know that you're trying, like Samsung's goal and the goal of a lot of Android manufacturers is to saturate the market with a bunch of models that appeal to everyone in every price range. But I really feel like I know you can do better than this. And so that being said, I'll see you next week for more Future Chat. Hopefully Mike and Nick will be back. We'll see. But I'm out for now.